Greetings. So we're doing a smart couple show. Ask me anything. Test drive. What does that mean? It means I'm going to be taking a question from you, the listener, every week and answering the question here on Facebook every Wednesday at 10 Mountain Time. So, and then when I read the question, you can ask clarifying questions about that question. Okay, down below. All right. So that's a little context. Okay. So, question from Chelsea. Why is emotional intensity so difficult for men to interact with, connect with, or be with? Women who are viciously verbally abusive seem more tolerable than a woman who expresses emotions related to depression. Why is this? Fascinating. Let's take this in two questions. All right. Number one, why is emotional intensity so hard for guys? Okay, if you're married to a woman or with an emotional wife or girlfriend. Well, it's because this man hasn't done any or very little work on himself to be able to tolerate his own emotional life. So, for example, prior to working on myself, I would find myself in relationships with women where the moment they kind of got triggered or I got triggered and we needed to work through something, I pushed them away and I went and drank alcohol and climbed mountains and did stuff like that. Why is that? Well, because I didn't know how to be with my experience. I didn't have any tools. I didn't know that I even was going through an emotional upheaval. I just felt like I was in a bad mood. That's all I had. And so if you were dating me and you behaved in certain ways, you would just upset me, right? And if you got emotional and you started crying or you got angry or something, I pushed you away because I didn't know how to support you. I didn't know how to be there for you in that moment because I didn't know how to be there for that part of myself, right? So this is, to me, it's that straightforward. And it can go both ways. A woman who's emotionally jammed up, who's with a sensitive, emotional guy, who's in his feelings a lot, she might push him away because she doesn't know how to be with his emotions because she doesn't know how to be with her own, right? It's really that straightforward. And then you ask, so women who are viciously verbally abusive seem more tolerable to this type of guy than a woman who expresses emotions related to depression. Well, maybe. I don't think that's a fair generalization to make because a woman who's verbally abusive might trigger some guys into being able to sit there and hold space for that. And for other guys, they'd shut down and dissociate and just kind of freeze and just take it, basically, not stand up for themselves. And for other guys, they might push back and get kind of hostile and be like, hey, you can't treat me this way. Like, you don't get to talk to me this way. And then with a depressed guy or a depressed woman with a guy, if she's depressed, and that could scare him away because he has little to no tolerance for someone who's in their victim, who's collapsed, who's really struggling, who feels genuinely depressed because he's disowned that part of himself. So again, we're talking about the same thing here. He's just not able to support you through your depression because he's hates or really dislikes that in people. He might judge them as weak. He might judge them as cowards. He might judge them as wimpy or whatever, because when he was young and he got emotional or acted depressed or complained or whined or kind of collapsed into himself and just wanted to lay on the couch, he probably got shamed for that and told like, hey, that's not how we act. Suck it up, dude. And so he learned to deny and repress that part of himself and kind of act on top of it that he was fine when really he wasn't fine. And then he becomes a grown man who, if you act that way, it's going to upset him. And of course, he's going to bring into his life someone who does act that way, to get him to face it. Okay. So that's just that's how relationships work, guys, and how emotions work with men and women. So yeah, that's the scoop. So thanks for the question, Chelsea. I think a lot of people are going to be able to relate to you and your question there. And guys, when we don't like something going on with our partner, it's often a statement about what we dislike in ourselves. So the first place you want to look is in the mirror. And you get to make requests and have preferences to your partner. Hey, I'd prefer it if you didn't raise your voice. Hey, I'd prefer it if you didn't yell at me. Hey, I'd prefer it if you got a job. Hey, I'd prefer it if you contributed to the rent. Things like that. We get to ask for what we need and want, and it's usually long-term more effective to transform ourselves on the inside and learn how to love people as they are. Okay, men, if you're listening, it's that simple. You got to get more okay with your own emotional landscape and be able to hold and tolerate more of your own experience. And you can do that with other people. I got really good training in that as a therapist, as a meditator, and clearly dating women and eventually my wife. So it's really powerful when you learn how to be with someone else's emotional upset. Parents know this well. Your kids will show you right where you're limited when you snap, when they're whining, crying, complaining, tantruming. They'll hit your ceiling right where you are limited, and they'll show you exactly where you can't go any further. And that's where your work is. Because, it sucks to shut down your child and shame them, or just, it sucks. When you do it, it's like, oh God, I can't believe I just did that. It's very humbling. So this is also kind of secret bonus points for parents out there. You got to get bigger in yourself so that you can handle more out there. Okay, nice. That's your action step, guys. Get bigger on the inside. Learn how to tolerate more of your own emotions. And if you feel numb, some men feel numb. They're like, oh, I don't feel anything. Exactly. You're going to attract a lot of emotion and emotional people into your life, though, so they can crack that wall or that shell, and so that you can start feeling again. And I like psychedelics. I like intense experiences like that, where you can uncork some of your repressed emotions. So be willing to experiment and go outside the lines to, unthaw the years and decades of frozen emotions. It's essential to feel in life, guys. You don't want to get stuck in your feelings, but it's essential to feel and be dynamic there. All right. Another quick action step is to join me on my live webinar this week, Wednesday, January 11th at 12 Mountain Time. If you're a therapist or coach or a personal growth person that's done a lot of work on yourself, you want to be there, because I'm going to show you just more efficient methods at getting at your own stuff or other people's stuff if you want to help other people with their problems, okay? It's going to be good. jasongaddis.com/coaches. That's jasongaddis.com/coaches. That'll be in the show notes as well. All right, this Wednesday, that webinar, and then I have another amazing podcast guest coming up this Wednesday night, and it's a really unbelievable interview. You're going to dig it. Loads of good information in this one coming up. All right, have yourself a raw, vulnerable, truthful day.